Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really crucial look at the UK's welfare reforms, specifically changes to personal independence payment, PIP, and universal credit. Our mission here is to really unpack how these shifts might be impacting disabled communities using the sources you've shared. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, it's definitely a big topic with significant implications.
Yep.
So just quickly for everyone listening, PIP, personal independence payment, that's a benefit to help with those extra costs.
Sure.
The ones that come with living with a long-term health condition or disability.
Right.
And universal credit, or UC, is that bigger umbrella payment, sort of simplifying things by rolling up older benefits into one.
Okay.
Now, the proposed changes, they seem to be about tightening the eligibility for PIP, making it harder to qualify, and also altering the health component within universal
The
credit.
health component.
Yeah, that's basically the part of UC that recognizes someone might have limited ability to work because of health issues. The changes could mean less support there, too. Though, it's reported current PIP recipients are protected. For now.
But future claimants might face tougher assessments.
That seems to be the direction, yes. Stricter assessments down the line.
You know, it's so easy for these policy changes to feel like just, well, abstract numbers in legal speak, isn't it?
It really is.
But what we really want to dive into is the human impact. What does this actually mean for people day to day, beyond the headlines?
Absolutely. And that's key. Because these benefits, for many disabled people, they are just extra money. They're fundamental, the bedrock of independence. We're talking about essential costs, maybe specialized equipment or accessible transport to get to work, or even just, higher energy bills because you need to run specific equipment or stay warm.
Costs that others might not even think about.
Exactly. Things non-disabled people often don't face, or not to the same degree. So these payments are really about trying to level the playing field a bit, make daily life possible. And there was that scope report, which was quite stark. It projected the extra cost of living for disabled people. It's said to rise nearly 12%.
12%? Wow.
Yeah, reaching something like $14,688 a year by 2029-30. A huge amount.
That really puts it in perspective. These aren't small amounts we're talking about. Can you maybe share an example, something that really illustrates this?
Sure. There was a story about a woman, let's call her Sarah. She uses a wheelchair. And she explained that without her PIP payments, she just couldn't afford the accessible taxi fares she needs to get to her job.
Right.
So losing that support, it wouldn't just be an inconvenience. It would mean losing her job, losing her independence, her ability to contribute. It's all connected.
That Sarah example really hits home. It shows how policy changes aren't abstract at all. They directly affect someone's ability to just, well, get to work, live their life. So if this is the potential human cost, how are politicians and advocacy groups reacting? Is there pushback?
Oh, yes. Significant pushback. Very vocal. Initially, you had, I think, over 120 Labor MPs threatening to rebel against the welfare reform bill.
Really? That many?
Yeah, which did lead to some government concessions, like protecting current PIP recipients, which we mentioned.
Okay, so some movement there.
But critics immediately jumped on that, saying, well, hang on, this just creates a two-tier system.
A two-tier system, meaning?
Meaning people already getting PIP are okay, but anyone applying in the future, or maybe younger disabled people.
They face a much tougher situation, even if their needs are exactly the same.
Precisely. That's the argument. It seems inherently unfair, based purely on timing. It disadvantages future claimants.
That doesn't sound right.
And Amnesty International also weighed in. They criticized the whole process, saying there wasn't proper consultation with disabled people themselves, calling it discriminatory.
Right. No co-design there.
And advocacy groups have been really active. Groups like DPAC Disabled People Against Cuts. They organize nationwide protests. You might have seen the hashtag welfare not warfare.
I think I have, actually.
That was them opposing these planned $5 billion cuts to disability benefits. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, the Trussell Trust, the food bank network,
Yes.
they put out a stark warning, saying these cuts could push 440,000 disabled individuals towards needing food banks.
440,000 people. That's
Jeez, wait.
staggering. Almost 500,000 potentially facing food insecurity because of these changes. So given all this backlash, these really dire warnings, where does the government stand now? Have they shifted much? And what would, real meaningful reform look like?
Well, as we said, there have been some U-turns, like protecting current PIP claimants. But the core reforms seem to be largely still on the table. The government's position, from the sources is often framed around fairness and sustainability, getting more people into work if possible.
But critics argue it's really about cost cutting.
That's the dominant criticism, yes.
Yeah.
That it's driven more by budget targets than genuine welfare improvement or really understanding disabled people's needs, which, raises that big question. What's the actual goal of a welfare system?
Exactly.
And advocates say true reform, meaningful reform, has to involve co-producing policies with disabled people, not just consulting after the fact.
So building it together from the ground up.
Yes, making
Yeah.
sure their lived experiences, their actual needs, shape the system to create something that's fair, inclusive, and genuinely sustainable, not just dictated by spreadsheets.
So what does this all boil down to for us? It seems overwhelmingly clear that the voices, the actual experiences of disabled communities, they have to be central, right at the heart of any talks about welfare reform.
Absolutely. Without that input, you risk completely missing the real-world impact of these decisions.
And for you, our listener, perhaps the takeaway here is to really consider those ripple effects, how policy, even seemingly small changes, can profoundly affect individual lives, and maybe the ongoing need for all of us to stay informed, stay engaged, to help shape a society that's truly inclusive for everyone. Thanks for diving deep with us today.